All right. Well, actually, let's just get started. No reason to wait as Pella sets up. Actually, I'm going to start off with a question that. Well, first off, welcome to Attack on Auraxis. It's the first of what I hope is many episodes to come. It's basically a bunch of dudes talking about Planetside 2 and eSports and competition and things like that. So we're going to get started. I want to start with a question asking each of you guys something that's really interesting to me. And it's kind of basically what got you into Planetside in the first place? What got you either into Planetside 1 or Planetside 2 in the first place? We'll start off with Wrel. Basically, a brief history of Wrel and Planetside 2.
Okay. So I never played Planetside 1, but I did play a lot of Tribes, and then rolled into Tribes 2, and I don't know. It's just the kind of futuristic. Any game with jetpacks where I can kind of like, I don't know, do things that people don't normally expect. I'm all about that. So it was, I don't know. In Planetside 2, it just kind of it scratched an itch that I've had ever since the Tribes 2 days. So yeah, that's why I'm here, I guess.
Okay, did you play Tribes 1 competitively, or did you just play it in pubs, or?
No, I was young, so it
No,
was
so was I. Remember playing Tribes 1 back in the day, too.
yeah, yeah. So not competitively. I mean, I've done like competitive esque things as far as I don't know, nothing serious. Just put it
Okay,
that way.
all
But
right. So, Pella, same question. What got you into Planetside, man?
The original, probably. Planetside 1. Just played that since it launched in 2003 and
Mm.
just played all the way through to Planetside 2, basically.
All right, Scourge. I know you played
Same
Planetside
here.
1.
Yeah, I've been here since the start. I was 12 years old back then. So,
Jesus.
man, I grew up with the game, you could say.
You're young, man.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, I was 22 when Planetside 1 came out. So I guess
Yeah,
I'm the old guy in the group. All right,
but
now
I
How old
mean,
are you?
I'm 34.
God, that's old.
Yeah, it's old. You see the grays in my hair?
it's
It's terrible, man. My genes have abandoned me. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, a little lighthearted discussion. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. In January, a partnership between I'm just reading off the Google Doc. In January, a partnership between MLG and SOE was announced. In it, they mentioned the War Report before it was actually called the War Report, game battle signups on MLG.com, and chances to play the game at MLG events. Two of the three have taken place. So essentially, they've gone with their part of the contract as far as the War Report, and they've actually featured Planetside 2 at since MLG Anaheim and things like that. Now, is that enough? And what changes do you think need to happen in the new contract between MLG and SOE, which is coming up because it was signed last year in January, assuming there is going to be one to get the competitive ball rolling. So what's missing in the current state of between the partnership of MLG and SOE in your opinion? So let's start off with ScourgeoftheServer.
May 1st. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go left to right and then right to left.
I think
Short
this is
straw.
just super premature, personally. I mean, I think people had a lot of expectations, and I think that the game is just, it's still not there yet. I mean, it's been a year, but there's still so much that needs to be done. And, you can't rush these things. I think people just need to be patient. The game still needs to mature a bit. And it feels like we're trying to force something to happen here.
So you don't feel it's happening organically like it should to actually develop
Right.
a serious following?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And, I think the player.
Oh, shit.
Whoa.
Skype crashed on me. I don't know why.
Okay.
Let's see as soon as the guys get back on. Let me add the other guys. There we go.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
guys. Yeah, Skype crashed. I don't know what happened. It just kind of like blue screen on me or whatever. Let's make sure we get everybody back on. Let me close this out.
Do I need to turn my video back on? Or?
Yeah.
There we go.
Let me change you on this. Okay, there it goes. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's continue where we left off. We were talking about that MLG is not letting this happen, or SOE and MLG not letting this happen organically, and then you were talking about that. Do you remember your train of thought?
Let's see. I'm reading the Google Doc here. I mean, it's just like there's so much that has to be done still, and it's like you can't just declare that the game is an esport now, and everybody's like, oh, it's an esport. I mean, it doesn't work like that.
Right. Okay.
And,
okay, Pella.
I kind of feel the same way, but from where I see it, I personally believe that SOE are using MLG as a kind of a marketing ploy to get new players in from that perspective. The competitive scene, like any other successful competitive game, is always going to come from like what we're doing now, stuff like this, and doing scrims and leagues, player built stuff. I mean, I don't personally believe we should rely on MLG to. It's like everyone is waiting for MLG to say, right, this is what's happening, this is how it's going to go, and then everyone will start to do it. But right. I personally believe that it should be player driven, because it'll work out better in the long run, and then people like MLG and so on can attach leagues and do it that way, and that's when money comes into play. But it's way from that at the moment. It's too far.
Okay, Wrel?
Yeah, so Scourge and Pella kind of summed it up, but yeah, you can think that it's before its time or whatever else, and that the game needs to grow, from within, because you need to set up certain boundaries. And but on top of that, there was actually a really good Reddit post by Flexo from PXP, and he was talking about why all the why MLG is doomed to fail. I don't know. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was very well put together. And one of the things that he mentions is that, well, aside from the fact that the community isn't sold on it, as a whole, like it's very, like MLG is very divisive, and it's like that for a lot of games too, because if you don't build the game from the ground up as a competitive game, which Planetside 2, not really. It wasn't meant to be that from the start. You're trying to get a lot of casuals in, and then you're tacking on, an MLG sort of element. So that in itself is just it's a very difficult hurdle to overcome. But one of the things that he also mentions is how it's very difficult to cast properly, or it's more difficult for the individual to follow and to to watch watch the footage and learn. Like
right.
when you call out plays, like do we have, like when in StarCraft, what somebody's doing, Zerg Rush, or however many food store. I don't know. I don't watch StarCraft, but
no, I get what you mean, like certain calls for certain movements.
Exactly. So
yeah.
the main one that I know is Gal Drop and Max Crash. That's it. That's really all that we can easily attach to in Planetside 2. And so I don't think that there's enough clear-cut strategy that the people need to, or the people are able to easily follow it and latch onto and say that, oh, this is coming, this is going to be good. Yeah, there's just a lot of elements like that are missing.
It's like a missing vocabulary almost. We don't have the words or the patterns to describe certain things, and that's actually a really good point, because even in the scrimmage between Future Crew and Indie Elite, I don't know if you watched that, but I repeat myself a lot. Okay, 4 maxes coming in, 2 maxes down, infantry coming in, infantry down. So a lot of the repetition kind of gets really boring, and there's not much you can do, because like you said, we're missing certain vocabulary to call out certain things within the game itself. And I think really that's where it comes from, the outfits. Like, every room, everybody has a certain name for, like the banana room or the crescent room we have certain things. So those kinds of plays can come up from the competition. But the problem is we're so starved for competition. There hasn't been much room for that to actually happen. There hasn't been much room for these things to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh well, just to kind of tack onto that, like, do you think that can actually grow? I mean, is Planetside 2, it's very complex, but
Right.
is it sophisticated, like, or and elegant enough to create that vocabulary that we're trying to
I
talk
believe
about?
it is. I know when I formed Recursion, we would have certain names for certain things. Like we would have anvil drops, which is just a bunch of light assault dropping from a galaxy for C4. You'd have the balcony drops. You would have certain moves. Now you're talking about grand movements. Now the finer details, like say trying to pick up a name for what Any Elite did against Future Crew in the Tower Tech plant, where they suppressed them with grenade launchers. There has to be certain evolutions to the names. Like people have to come up with these names, and you can't really pin it all on one person or one outfit or even on MLG to come up with these names. It has to come up from the players themselves. So I do something cool. I give it a name. That name gets picked up, and all of a sudden everybody's using that name. You know what I mean? So it really has to come from the community, and I think that's our responsibility as a community, because you could look at certain movements as soccer plays or football plays, and I used to think about them like that. And I think even Scourge can tell you. I mean, they had their backs up against the wall, and if you had maybe access to certain things and people had practiced certain movements, you could have countered certain things. So what do you guys think about that, Scourge and Pella? Like, are we missing a certain vocabulary in Planetside 2 for observing and casting these types of matches? Go ahead, Scourge.
Well, I think the thing I probably refer to the most of when thinking about what Planetside needs to be more like is actually Counter-Strike. I think that's much more of an analog than, say, Call of Duty or anything like that is, because that's a game that has a lot of kind of deeper meta underneath it. Because, okay, like for an example, for the terrorist side, if you run into a door with two people, and there's one CT and the CT kills one guy and then the terrorist kills that guy, that's called a kill trade, right?
Right.
And that's considered to be advantageous to the terrorist side. And that's considered because of this underlying belief that it's to their advantage to trade down, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when the game gets to like 3v3 instead of 5v5, then they're at an advantage. And I feel like Planetside 2 kind of lacks some things like that. I mean, it's kind of like, Wrel was saying, it's just max crash, go.
Yeah.
And then they go. And that's it. You don't have these deeper underneath things going on all the time.
All right. So
I mean, sometimes you do.
Yeah, and it's hard. Remember you told me how I was overcasting, and it can happen, but really it's like you're looking at the action, trying to call out the certain actions, and you really don't want to fill in certain things because you just want to call what's going on. So I understand that.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Pella.
Yeah, but things like that are going to come in time, I feel anyway, because at the moment there's so many outposts, so many bases that, like, if you as Scrooge said, with Counter-Strike, is competitively is only 3-4 maps that they play, that the clans choose to play. So in terms of casting and understanding those maps is imperative. So I think when they launch battle islands and stuff like that and make it so every map is kind of everyone's used to, that's
Right.
when you'll start to develop that vocabulary.
Okay, now we're gonna tackle the big elephant in the room, the MLG War Report itself. Now we all know that the MLG War Report has left a sour taste in people's mouths, especially after episode 25, which was between Nuck and the European outfits. I forget their names. And then you had episode 26, which was Future Crew vs. Traff, right? I believe.
Yep.
Okay, now placing blame is easy, and I did this myself the other day on Twitter. What would you do to revive the War Report if you were in MLG shoes? Should MLG focus on 48s or 24s? Should it do like a tri-faction competition? Should they market it as a showcase or a competition? What can MLG do now to revive the War Report and actually make it something that people look forward to, which it's not happening right now? Let's start with Wrel on the right.
Okay, so what Pella was saying about essentially just familiarity, right? That's something that you can build very, very easily if you start with single base, or single lane and things like that. I would personally like to see a bunch of different like 24 versus 24, 48 versus 48, and then just like if you want to do a massive battle, build up to that. Like don't say that okay, this is the format, everything's ready set go, because you have some people that I don't know, it's just like there's it's like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's like going to a carnival like a theme park, right? So you have a theme park, but you don't have any money, and you have all these rides, and you want to go on everything, or maybe you have a little bit of money and you can only pick just one, but it's like you're trying to put the kids in the candy store, and nobody's, I don't know. Ugh.
I was actually thinking of it. Now, I was thinking of what you were saying.
I get what you're saying.
What I pictured
Okay,
was basically a house with walls and no foundation. Like, you need the foundation before you can build the walls and the roof and everything, right? So the foundation for these kinds of events is, maybe it is 24s. Like, I've fought against 24s for the community clash, but maybe it is 24s. Maybe you start small and you build up from there.
Right, and I think that part of the problem is that inherently, Planetside 2 is supposed to be this big, massive game. We want to showcase it, and, this is all the fun stuff you can do. Look at me, but you don't have, there's nothing there. Like you said, the foundation. It's
Right.
It's yeah, it needs to be developed. It needs to be systematically like built up. But
Okay, what do you think about that, Pella, what he said?
Yeah, he's totally right, and I think but this goes back to what I said at the start, is where everyone is waiting for MLG to make a rule set, so it's familiar ground for everyone to run with it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Whereas where I feel it should be us creating the community, creating that rule set, and then running with it, and then building up to bigger battles and testing the ground for that type of fights.
Okay, Scourge? You're at Sundance D. Giovanni. What do you do to
About the
revive the
war
word
report?
port? Yeah, you're the man with all the money and all the fame. What do you do?
First off, I would just get rid of it. I would just be like, no more war report.
Okay.
And then I would just make something with a completely different name, and like nobody involved from the previous.
So
'Cause
it's fresh
just,
start.
Yeah, I mean,
Tabula rasa,
I think it's
right?
kind of doomed. I mean, okay. Here's the way I see the war report: is that they had two options, right? That's the way I
Right.
see it. Option one is that you have kind of like a more fun show that's like a variety show. You have dev interviews, first looks, plays of the week, maybe a little bit of gameplay sprinkled in there. And then the other option they could have done was they could have had a bracket, matches, rules, set objectives, and every week is like a new match, right?
Right.
And instead we got neither. We got low effort, low content. I mean, it's like you would think they'd be able to make something more interesting with this like huge studio they got, but it's not very fun to watch. It's just all these people are told to just go here and dogpile on the point, and then there's inane commentary.
Yeah, to quote Braveheart, it's like we got the scraps from Longshane's table, right? Instead of the actual course meal.
Right. That's exactly it.
It almost looks like I don't know, the guy from MLG, the two casters, they've got a lovely set and everything, but that come whenever, like the day before, when they go through the script of what they're gonna do, they got their heads in their hands thinking, oh, not again. I honestly can't be asked to cast this. I mean, it's like bad. It's bad for them. I mean, it's like it's more of a hindrance to them, and it shows that in the actual production of it, and it's disappointing.
yeah, people talk about lack of tools to showcase these things properly.
Right.
But also, if you go to the MLG site, just the MLC, the MLG, the Planetside 2 thing, it's not maintained. It's not. It's just, I mean, the last war report that's up there is like episode 14 or something ridiculous. Like, it's not a good showing of, like, I don't they need to try harder. Is what. And the poor casters, like Pella's saying, everybody gives all this hate to Jax and whatever, and maybe you have problems with them, but regardless, like, this guy's got to do what he can do with with what he's given.
Right. He has to
hard.
stay upbeat. He has to stay optimistic.
Exactly.
Some of the casting, in my opinion, could have been a little better. I mean, talking about popcorn and pizza, when you have these outfits who are really excited to be on the show, isn't it maybe the most respectful thing? But I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of work to do, and which leads to the next question. Now, on one hand, you're going to have the MLG War Report or whatever we're gonna call it. Maybe they'll do what Scourge suggests and just tabula rasa. Screw it. Let's do a new slate. On the other hand, you have the Community Clash coming up. Now, Community Clash is going to be 24v24 for the people that don't know. It's going to be an 8-team ladder, and it's going to be completely separate from the MLG because MLG is going to eventually focus on the Nexus. It's going to focus on 48s. Now, we were talking about the foundation and houses. What kind of foundation can the Community Clash build up for something like the War Report? Or should it even be looked at it that way? Should the Community Clash be looked at as this awesome thing unto itself, or should it be looked at as a build-up for MLG? What do you guys think? We'll start with Scourge.
Well, personally, I think that Community Clash at this point has the potential of being the most popular thing that's ever been streamed for PS2. I mean, that's actually like for PS2 content, not just some big streamer who's playing PS2 for a day or two.
Right.
But I mean, that's the thing I think that people don't get right about streams and Twitch is that people tune in for these big tournaments and for like shows and stuff like that, and then after that they go, that player was really cool, I like him, and then they go watch his stream. It's like a process like that, and I feel like everything's been just done backwards here, where it's like there's only so much interest you can have in just watching the guy play the game every day.
Right.
It's like you can go play yourself.
Okay. What do you think, Pella? Do you think Community Clash is going to be its own grand thing, or is it going to be like a build-up towards MLG, or what do you think is going to happen with that?
I think Community Clash should just run with it and not even think about MLG. Just do it off their own back and make something of this domain of the competitive scene. And if they get the players and the outfits involved with it, it'll soon tell that if it's going to be successful or not. I get obviously the rule set straight and move on from there, but definitely don't wait around for MLG. They ain't going to really add anything, are they?
No, they're going to add their own brackets and who knows. The thing that I know is that with the performance recently of the War Report, something has to change, and I think Sony recognizes this and is going to be implementing changes once the new contract gets signed up. I mean, I'm willing to bet at least $1 that things are going to be changing for MLG and the War Report. But let's continue with the discussion. On to Wrel.
Yeah, I don't... Community Clash, I think everybody wants there to be like in-house competitive or competition, whatever. I think Community Clash should be doing its, or standing alone, doing its own thing, but also being an example of everything that can, come from it. Not like purposely like, oh look, here's proof of concept, take this MLG, run with it. But it can be that, it can be like something really, really good, really, really solid, everybody enjoys, and it needs to have the backing of like SOE, I think more so than it does now. I mean, just you want to do MLG. Okay, in my mind, MLG should exist, right? There is a lot of potential, and it needs to, or I think the main function of MLG is to attract new players to the game. And I think that if you take Community Clash and then, I don't know, just keep building it. Just keep building the foundation and, let Community Clash do its own thing. But let SOE, like, really, really, emphasize Community Clash. And, I don't know. Stop doing the half-hearted MLG thing, thinking that it's going to give you more players. Right. When Community Clash is where it's at.
Yeah, I actually believe, like you guys, that Community Clash could be that organic thing that Planetside needs desperately. Because, I mean, even in the earlier Community Clashes, you had hundreds of viewers, and it was getting higher every week. So let's talk about something that I'm not sure people are aware of. In Community Clash, when you sign up, let's say it's Future Crew versus Innate Elite, just assume, you're going to have 24 Future Crew versus 24 I&I. You're going to have to submit a roster, and when you submit that roster, you're basically saying that these 24 people are going to play. But when you actually play, you're not going to be able to play with your own name. You're going to have to play, because of the limitations of the system currently with SOE, this is the only way it could work. You're going to have to play as VS Conclash number 1. So Scourge is VS Conclash 01. Pella is TR Conclash 05. So you're not going to be able to have that access to personalities. Do you guys think that this is maybe not so much it's going to hurt Community Clash, but maybe it's kind of go against the building of personalities within these types of events? Because let's face it, Community Clash is all we got. Now, do you think this is going to be a limitation, or do you think there's going to be a way to go around it as far as tracking stats, filling out rosters? Like, what do you guys think? Let's start with Wrel.
All right.
Did you get what I said?
Yes and no. So basically, you defacing the players and just like making them into numbers. Is that what I'm guessing?
Right, it's exactly because the accounts are all pre-created. We created about 144 accounts. I helped create some of them.
Okay.
So you're basically given access to this account, which has access to Jaeger, which is I believe is going to be the private server. So you can't just
Okay.
they can't just flag certain accounts. The accounts are pre-flagged. So this is the only way it works currently within the limitations of that SOE is provided.
Okay, that's really interesting. I do believe that that it can like you do need personality. That's what people sports what you football, baseball, whatever go Ichiro. Like I love Seattle Mariners, but like Ichiro is who I watch,
Right.
right? And you do want those specific names, but at the same time, if you encourage people to stream, and like they're Comp Clash 05 or whatever, but they're still there. Uh, like if Scourge is playing, and people go and watch him, I think that I don't think that it'll hurt as much as I don't know, as just telling us the concept will, because I think that the streamers are still going to be able to generate their personalities and say that oh, I'm playing and come watch me and things like that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Okay, Pella.
I don't think it should be based around personalities on an individual level. It should be based around outfits, and obviously, yeah, you can get individuals to be, I don't know, esports famous, but I honestly don't think Planetside 2 would get that far because the type of game it is, I don't feel it's going to get to that level where you're going to have good players that are going to be, I don't know, making money from it. I don't know. I can't see that where I am now.
Right, but you don't think that? Oh, sorry, you got cut off. I was gonna say you don't think that there's a benefit to having like somebody represent, like say Pella's the face of I, and say Scourge is the face of Future Crew. You don't think there's a benefit to having these faces stand out amongst the crowd? I mean, it's basically what all esports are defined by, right? I mean, like Wrel was saying, you have your team, but then you have your player. So there's a distinct difference between having your team and your player. When you root for your player, I mean that builds loyalty, it builds a following, it builds like this whole fanfare. People cheering, screaming players' names, wearing jerseys. You don't think that could benefit Planetside? You're cut out, Pella. Pella, hold on. Your mic is cutting out. Say something.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, your mic was cutting
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, in time, definitely. If Planetside 2 gets to that level, of course it's going to benefit, because obviously, but it's not going to get to that level until you get sponsors. And do you know what I mean?
Right.
You get a pin-up person for that outfit, because someone is not going to sponsor an entire outfit.
No,
of,
there's no
14
way.
people.
There's no way.
I mean, but they may select a certain few players. But is that fair to say, like, if I was that guy for Any Elite and then left out the other guys who work hard in the background, like Furiosis, the outfit leader, do you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's other people as well. So I would feel guilty doing that. So that's why I don't really want to think about it for now and make it a thing, because I don't think that's going to happen in time.
Okay, Scorch. Okay, so let's talk about personalities. And you're in an outfit full of personalities.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say, I mean, obviously they've picked Twift before. He went to MLG Anaheim. Do you think it's fair for them to pick one and not the other? Of course, it has to happen that way, right? Just like in any competition, there's a winner and a loser. Same with sponsoring. They're going to pick someone and by turn not pick another. Do you believe that Planetside 2 success is going to hinge on these personalities, or should we even be talking about them, or what's the deal here?
I think people have kind of the wrong idea about all this, because they're so used to watching, like, all the traditional esports, right? And
Right.
Traditional esports are 5 people. Like even like World of Tanks is like 8 people or something. So it's not that many people. But it's about outfits. It's not about players. I mean, players, obviously they're a vital part of the outfit and their personalities are important too. But I really do think that the outfits themselves are, they're like a club. They have their own traditions. They have their own little in-jokes. I mean, and that's the fun of it, is
Right.
like seeing, just those outfits, get together and play.
Okay.
And I think
Can
that's
I-
what should be focused on.
Can
Yeah.
I comment on that?
Yeah, go for it, Wrel, of course. It's an open forum.
Okay, so you talk about fair, uh, and the money making process and things like that. It is about outfits. The game is absolutely,
Right.
but I don't think that a community can rally behind something without a face unless that's their like identity, like anonymous. They don't have a face
Right.
intentionally. But us, we're just we're people, we have our favorite players, and I don't think that's going to change, and I don't think that it should change. But when you're talking about like making money and, massive like wealth and popularity and whatever else, I don't think that should be, well, that A shouldn't be a concern.
Right.
I mean, and that's like idealistic world, that's whatever. But also, I think that the media, like, it should pick out certain people. This guy looks, he's got a face, he's got, a nice voice, he's talks proper. He should be the ambassador to, of the game, of the outfit, and that.
Thanks, Wrel.
I think that we need that. I think that we need it.
Yeah, actually, the way, at least as far as I knew from the contract, that they were saying, even Higby has been quoted as saying this, maybe even Smedley, that the way it would work is, say you have your MLG event, 5 players would get sent to these MLG events. It would be the 4 squad leaders plus the 1 platoon leader. So regardless of whether we think it's fair or not, there's going to be certain faces attached to these outfits. When they think of Nuck or Future Crew or any elite or whoever, they're going to think of these 5 people, right? And of course, they're always going to think of the outfit leader. And when I was talking about money, I'm not even concerned about money. I just want this, talking about popularity, who these people root for. And so, do you think that there will be sponsorship? I mean, if this game even gets off its like say off the knees that we're on right now, do you think there will eventually be sponsorship within Planetside 2 MLG? I mean, is it even viable? Let's start with Scourge.
Well, I guess you could sponsor those 5 people and just, leave the 34 out to dry. I mean, but I mean that's the thing I'm trying to get at is, of course, you're going to have faces attached to these
Right.
outfits. I mean, of course, there's no other way. But at the same time, they are kind of, like I think it was Wrel said, they're they're ambassadors for their outfit. They represent the club, if you will.
Yeah.
It's it's less like a Dota team and it's more like a football team. Where,
Exactly. You have your 2 captains essentially.
Right, you've got your coaches and you've got this and that and all your supporting people.
Okay, Pella.
Did any of you guys play Global Agenda?
Briefly,
bit,
very
yeah.
briefly.
Yes, I did. I played the crap out of Global Agenda.
Yeah, so the type of reward system was in-game, like, rewards. Like, I think they had, like, different helmets and little bits like that for each season. So I personally feel that that's the way Planetside 2 will go. You'll be rewarded in-game, perhaps with station cash or in-game items, which is unique. And then it's kind of more of a bragging right that your outfit can wear that certain decal, that certain camo, or that's the way I feel it's going to head.
Yeah, World of Tanks did that.
Yeah, so not so much where an outside company is going to come in and say, "Oh, you are guys, here's 50 grand, go and buy yourself a Razer headset," and say we sponsor you. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I've been hoping for like an Aquafina sponsorship because I drink a crap load of water, man. Anyway, go on to Wrel.
That's really, really a good point. I didn't think about that, Pella. But it makes complete sense. And yeah, Global Agenda is a really, really good example. And just in-game rewards. I mean, yeah, the sponsor's not going to like pick up 38 people or 48 people or whatever, and like give them all free stuff. Maybe you maybe pick up like the 1 or 2, but I think that any outfit who is seriously serious will understand that that those are minor, kind of pitiful things. Like, if anything, this Planetside 2, you could check it off, put it on your resume for, I'm going to be MLG Counter-Strike, pick me up for, your
Yeah,
competitive team or
I get
whatever.
your point. I feel the same way about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like this can be the start of a new standard. you shouldn't be, or not shouldn't be, but it's not always possible to have this sort of fame and sponsorship and glory and whatever. And yeah, if you were part of a bigger outfit, like recognized in game that you're already playing and enjoying, uh, I think that's probably the better way to go, the
Okay.
better way to build it. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on from MLG onto actually the community itself. Now, there has been a lot of support, either negatively or positively. I guess that wouldn't be support, right? That'd be criticism from the community on a lot of these events that have been happening. On the MLG War Report, I mean, against Nuck, there's been some criticism. There's been some criticism against Future Card, even in the Elite. Depends on the way you look at that thread, right? So, what role does the community play, or what role should they play? And I'm basing this off of your video talking about Grace. I think it was Wrel. What role should the community play in pushing Planetside 2 towards a specific area? Like, what do we want the Planetside 2 community to look like? What should their role be, and how do we define that as players ourselves? I mean, we have some kind of notoriety, right? Even though it's like a pinch of salt. What can we do to help that grow in a certain direction? Let's start with Scourge.
That's a big question. I mean,
Yeah.
where do I start with it? Um, I mean, I think that Outfit's already doing what they can. They're getting together, they're scrimming. There's, all this setting up for the community clash is going on. And I mean, I think I heard them talking about setting up like a European league because, I mean, let's be honest, it's just kind of unrealistic to have the league where, it's like you got to play at 2 p.m. and that's the only time you can do it because I don't know.
It's not
So,
flexible, yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, it would be great to see at some point, maybe like you have the World Series. I don't know. But anyways, I think though that there's a lot of I don't know, misconceptions around the whole scrimming because it's been they've been getting streamed recently, and there's lots of people streaming them now, and I think it's kind of perverting what a scrim is. I mean, a scrim is supposed to be the outfits are practicing, they're getting together to play hard, and just get better at the game. And I mean, there's like a line here that's being kind of perverted. It's
Right.
like where does self promotion begin and where does self improvement start?
Yeah, it's a fine line. I read your thread in the PS2 forums, and it looked like nobody even paid attention to your post because people just kept going on with the shit slinging pretty much.
Yeah,
It,
both
it,
outfits
it was like
were just-
right over their heads. So I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? I mean, you say this is the way we stand, this is what's going on. Come on, guys, try and see it our way, try and see it our way. But just people refuse. So let's go on to Pella. What do you think about the
No, I
community and
agree.
everything?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think, well, I agree with what Scrooge is saying, but it's just, it's, it's a fine line between, well, we need to make a fine line between scrimming and actual where it's serious. Do you know what I mean? Where it's competitive, but do you know what I mean it's like every outfit now? Like we take every scrim we do, we take it serious because we want to win, and to me, it's nothing wrong with that. It's just to me because we got nothing else to fight for. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing else for
Right.
us to do, so we just want to make sure we're good in that department. But as I said, with community clash coming along, and as soon as someone implements a certain rule set that everyone's happy with, and a ladder or a league is set in place and is on a regular basis with regular outfits, that's when the train will start moving and everything will fall into place. That's what I believe. And then the community, from that aspect, should back it basically. If they want to see Planetside 2 succeed, it's going to have to succeed I believe, from the competitive side of things.
Okay, Rel, thoughts?
Uh,
It is a big topic, so you
Yeah,
can attack it from
yeah.
any angle, man.
Okay, so when you're looking at just when you're talking about scrims and how they're getting perverted and whatever, I think that's a good point. It's you can't change people, or you can't change everyone or force your opinions on them, to like because there is such a huge schism, this like chasm between MLG or even competition and then the casual player, which the game was built around. You're going to have these mindsets that like you need to shift like your own, or like be an example more than more than like saying like, oh, this is how things should go. This is how you should do things. So when you're scrimming, and if you have a really douchey outfit or whatever is scrimming against you, just like sorry, you're out of the fun club. We're not going to play with you anymore. Take your toys, go somewhere else. And I don't know. It's there's really no. I don't even know how to attack this question. There's really no like easy answer. You just keep trying to be the best player that you can possibly be, and kind of like just ignore the forum trolls and things like that about the people who don't want competition or think that it's going to ruin the game, and just keep doing community clash, keep doing scrimming, just keep hammering away. Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any more thoughts on that? Because I think it's really vital that like Wrel said, we set the example, right? I mean, if we're gonna stream, sometimes you just can't say certain things. It's accepted, right? I mean, you're not gonna spot off whatever you want, even though that might be your personality. There's certain expectations that we have of us. These expectations of us, are they realistic? Should they be something that we're doing with our outfits? Should we have like a meeting and say, okay, we can only say certain things? I mean, is that really where you want to go with this? Is that a realistic expectation of us, both on the live server pub play and competitively? Because I mean, I think it's good that there's some mudslinging competitively, because you want that rivalry, right? You want that conflict, because people for some reason feed off conflict. Yeah. You can't always shake hands and say, hey, that was a good match. Sometimes you're going to say F you, and that's okay, because you want that. Look at football. They almost kill each other on a daily basis, right? And it's awesome to watch. You get people cheering, tearing their shirts off, wearing paint on their skins, and that's not going to happen with Planetside 2. But I'm talking about the level of following. Like, so what do you think about that, Wrel? We'll start with you since we're going right to left now. Like, do you think people are gonna be attached to certain kinds of personalities and that's okay, and not others?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Oh man, I've been thinking about this like for a lot of the stream, but I didn't want to bring him up. But TE.
There you go.
Enclave. Yeah, I know.
That's another
I
elephant
invoked
in the room,
the curse.
right?
Now the whole stream, whatever. But
you're gonna summon
like,
Buzzcut Psycho out of the mist, man. Be careful.
Yeah, I know. And it's just like that's people were like really down for that. I mean, he was the most followed stream in Planetside 2. Period.
Right.
I mean, that's just, and that's so yeah. When you're saying that that a little bit of
who's this?
douchiness or
Buzzcut Psycho.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh yeah.
He's trying not to say it. It's like when you say Satan's name, his eye follows you,
don't
or
say it 3 times.
the Eye of Mordor.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
But
if I had an outfit of 300 people and I just told them to watch my show, even though they were playing the game, I'd be the most followed.
You're right.
Well, I think it was beyond that, because he was a good player. He had a good control of his outfit. He was just a douchebag, and but that's fine because it got a lot of people, because we do thrive on conflict. Like kidRiot was saying, it's like I'm a very violent person. I mean, I hate hurting people, but I like violence, and it's it's like why I play the games, like competition and whatever else. It's just it's fun, and it's fun to smack talk, and it's fun to be a troll, but at the same time you have to understand that there is a line between like good competition and then being
toxic.
Like toxic. That's a better word than I was going to use, but that's it.
All right, Pella. Did you ever watch Buzzcut Psycho, Pella?
Probably once.
So did you have a good grasp? I mean, he didn't care. I mean, he pulled no punches, right? So he would say what he wanted to say. Whether it was like any ism that there is in the book, he was pretty much throwing it out there. Racism, sexism, whatever you wanted to say, he was throwing out there. And he was the most watched stream for Planetside 2 by far. He'd average like 140 to 160 viewers, and the next dude was like at 10 viewers. So I mean,
I heard like some of the racist stuff he come out with, but again, there should have been where SOE just stopped him or something. I mean, like some of the stuff he was saying, I mean, it's bad for the game. Like some poor kid could have been watching that and thinking, like I wouldn't play that game if these type of people are playing it. It's not fun. Do you know what I mean? It's turning people away more than anything. And everyone turned against him from where I can gather, and he kind of hung up his gloves and pussied off.
All right, Scourge, what do you think, man?
I think that people are underestimating how mature the PS2 community is. Okay, like most of the people I meet in PS2 are usually in their 20s or above.
Yeah,
Okay,
like SOE
whereas
Live, for example.
right, I mean that was a perfect example. You know, there were people that were like 40 and 50 there, and that's like 100 internet years. But I mean, like you go and watch like a COD tournament, and like there's nobody there above 17. It's like
Yeah,
they're all kids,
yeah.
and that's where you see all the mudslinging and the shit talking, and just people just saying some incredible things during those tournaments. Just, but I think that the PS2 community is actually pretty mature, pretty older, and and yeah, I do think people like Buzzcut will be sorely missed because they were interesting people. I mean,
He did bring
a good
viewers,
villain,
right?
right?
He did bring viewers. He was a top watch stream for how many months did he play? Like 6-7 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think that the thing that's not being brought up here is the fact that he, of the people who were streaming at the time, he was probably like the most knowledgeable person who like really like got it. Like he understood the game. He knew like this causes that, etc. Like he got it. Okay, and he got
Yeah,
it
but
early too.
But from what I can gather, it was one point I was checking his stats and I was thinking, to me, this guy must be good. But if you look at how much he played, it was unbelievable. The amount of hours
I
he's
think
actually putting in.
He's still top 5 in the leaderboard for time played, and there's people that have been playing consistently
Yeah.
since he left. That's how much he played.
Yeah, like I play a lot, but he was like double what I play, and I mean I found it hard to kind of maintain that level of activity.
Yeah.
So God knows what he was doing.
Let's move off from Buzzcut Psycho unless you want something to add, Wrel. I don't know why I turned to that. I think it's your fault.
Yeah. See, I tried to keep it out.
Yeah. He who shall not be named. All right, let's talk about the OMFG patch. I don't think you can talk about Planetside 2 without mentioning this patch. What do you think we have to look forward to? I mean, the Nexus, the frames were pretty decent because you're talking about 48 on 48 in the Nexus, which is 96 people. So the frames weren't so bad. But let's talk about competitive aspect of the live servers. Like, how do you think this has influenced the average player's game experience with Planetside 2 competitively, so that now guys that previously were struggling with 10, 15, 20 frames who couldn't shoot now can shoot? Do you think this will affect the dynamic of the game itself by improving people's overall experience as far as frame rates are concerned? Let's start with Scourge.
I think this has more to do with the competitive side of the game than people think or realize.
Right.
Like, in fact, I think this is like one of the first major things they've done towards making the game more competitive, and I hope they don't stop here. I hope there's more improvements.
Yeah, it's just phase 1.
Yeah, it's phase 1, and like another thing I think they're forgetting here, because they've been doing all like client-side stuff, but the servers too are just awful right now, and they feel like they're getting worse. But I mean, that's an essential step in being a competitive player, is being able to control recoil and all these things that you can't do unless you have a good frame rate. Like, you can't do it as well unless you have at least 60 FPS all the time.
Right.
It's like that's fact. You can't control the gun as well. And I mean, the other thing about that, I think, is people watch esports of games that they play. Okay, so like if you're a League of Legends player, you'll always tune into the LCS, and if you're a Dota player, you'll always watch the international, etc. And I think that's like a vital step to the game actually having a competitive scene, is just more people, and better performance means that more people can actually play the game. And I think that's been like one of the long-term problems with the game's viability. It's just not enough computers can run it. I mean, you can run League of Legends on any old piece of crap, like 6-year-old computer, just fine, max
right.
frames.
Actually, you raise up a very good point. How can you be a fan of a game that you can't even play, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Pella?
Yeah, I was playing on Miller today, and I mean it felt a lot different. Not in terms of graphically, obviously it runs a lot more smoother, but it's a load more new people playing now. So it's nice to see that.
A lot of rocket primaries on Miller, right?
A lot of
rocket primaries, guys that shoot rockets first before shooting guns.
Yeah. That's standard procedure.
That's why I'm just giving you a little teasing, because I heard you were saying that about how Miller's explosive heavy.
Yeah, but no, it's a lot more players. But in terms of what it's like on servers now, I feel is more the outfits now will start farming more, if that makes sense. So
Right.
because there's so much new blood around, outfits will start not working tactically, but they'll go to the best farms. So they'll fight in towers or in a biolab, and that experience then for new players, it's not nice. Do you know what I mean? Because they're always dying, and that's the boundary where SOE need to kind of mix her up a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Change that department, because now I could go out and play now and get 300 kills and like 2,000 certs in a day if I wanted to, just because there's so many new people. Like, go back a month ago, that was impossible to do, or because you're fighting more experienced players.
Right. Okay, Wrel?
All right. So first off, I have to get on my soapbox a little bit.
Go for it.
The people who keep saying that, oh, this should have happened months ago. Yeah, it should have. Stop talking about it. Like, move on. So it's here. OMFG. Whatever. Like, if it works better for you, that's good. I think that it definitely will affect the competitive scene. It's funny when Scourge was talking about it having, I don't know, you need at least 60 frames per second to control recoil. For the average person, not the case at all. But for competitive, I know people
30.
who notice the difference, who like with 100 frames per second, down to 60, like that matters for them, or like 1 latency versus 10 latency, that matters for them. And very, 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 very interesting, like different, completely different side of things when you're like hardcore competitive. And but for the majority of people, like what was also brought up was just that we do need more players so that they can be playing the game. They can go see the streams of the competitive players. That's all. That's completely right. I mean, you guys both summed it up very, very well. And I think that this patch is a great step in the right direction. And but hopefully we'll get some content, some balancing around, because the game it's far from ready to go.
Yeah, I think personally, my conspiracy. We're going into conspiracies now. My idea has been that we have been playing a beta essentially for PS4.
Pretty much.
And basically the timeline has been set for PS4. I mean, why? It doesn't make sense. I understand why you need all your assets to produce content to release the game, right? I understand that. I mean, I may not be a developer. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that needed to produce so much content to be able to release a game, right? You had to have your it was 2 continents at the start, I think, right? Wasn't it just Indar and Esamir? Or was it Marishot at first? I forget. But so why now the OMFG patch almost a year later on the anniversary, when PS4 is getting released? It seems to fit, together almost too well. But so I mean, what do you guys think about that? Have we essentially been playing a beta, or have we been playing like a live release version of Planetside 2? Let's start with Wrel this time.
Okay. So AMD processors or whatever have always had problems, but that's what PS4 is running off of. So like it's pretty much a do or die for, yes, we need to finally optimize our game. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's so much a conspiracy theory as it is like probably
logic.
True.
Logic.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of sucks for us, but you also mentioned that they needed to work on content, and I think that a lot of it came down to, like, we need to see, like, show some really, really good numbers of just us selling things so that we can, this game is completely profitable, it looks good, so then we can move to other things.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, when you talk about, like, was it a beta? I mean, is it still a beta? Like, I mean, yeah, you could think of it that way, but at the same time, I think that the game was pretty much good to go. I never really had any problems with it aside from frame rates, and even Smedley said, like, no, you need to have a good computer in order to play this game, and that's just how it's going to be. Didn't turn out to be the case, probably because you started losing so many people, and then they needed to readjust their priorities. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, I think that they were content with the game going live, but from a competitive standpoint, the game's like, it's not built to be competitive, so I don't know, they're jumping the gun in kind of a couple different directions.
Yeah, I think that their contract with MLG, and it's my opinion now that there has been a lot of communication between MLG and SOE. I know I'm changing the topic shortly, but I don't think there's been a lot of communication between SOE and MLG as far as how things should have been run. So I think that's why things kind of got out of hand as far as MLG concerned. But let's go back to the to this whole idea, and let's start with Pella again. About how have we been playing a beta? Do you think, or I mean, are we? In my opinion, this is the actual first live release update. In my opinion, is a performance update 1. But what do you think?
I think the first 4 months felt like beta and then when the actual alpha test and then the actual beta, like months after that, if that's when it felt like beta to me. It wasn't ready, and I think SOE had to release it obviously to get money.
Right.
And I think they're in a situation now where the game has got so much potential, it's free to play, and the player studio thing where these guys are making loads of money, they're making really good money from it. So I think they're making a good level of money now. So I don't feel the patch now is to draw new players back. Battlefield 4 just launched. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to weigh into that as well. So just think of how many people have actually come back to Planetside 2 now. Obviously, the stats, people can get the stats on this pretty soon, or look at it now from since the patch has launched and see what the pop increase is. But I believe it'll be a lot higher, and it's about maintaining that the pop the pop which you've taken on, and keeping them in game, and seeing like in 3-4 months time if they're still playing, and that will be a success to them. But in terms of PlayStation 4, I think the game is they've obviously part of this patch is to tweak it for that. But I don't know. I don't really care about the console, but I'm sure SOE got their SMED bucks rolled up for it.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you think, Scourge?
I really don't know what to think about the PS4 launch. I mean, I've actually seen the PS4 streaming service now, and it looks pretty bad. It's like 360p or something.
Is it really 360p?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It just looks like mud to me. So, I mean, I can't picture people like tuning into PS4 streamers. I mean, except for the comedy of nobody being able to fly or, strafe properly or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I just think that the game was designed from the ground up to be a PC game. And it's like, there's not like a Counter-Strike scene on consoles or anything. It's like, I don't think every game has to have a console release to be successful. But yeah, I mean, I did kind of get that same feeling though, that a lot of this was just because the PlayStation, it's a 6-core console, and the cores are like, I think like 2.6 gigahertz or something. So that there's no way that's gonna run on the PS4 right now. No way. Even like with this OMG patch, it's like they're gonna need like 2 or 3 more of this.
Yeah, they're aiming for a stable 60 FPS at Ultra, is what T-Ray had said.
Yeah. Good luck.
That's pretty impressive if they can do that. I mean, I have a 4770K at 4.5 with a 770 GTX, and I'm hitting 60 FPS, but it dips. It still dips. So
yeah, I mean, it's the multi-threading. I mean, that's the issue, is that the game's not threaded very well, and that's a very hard thing to do. And most PC games actually don't thread very much, just because I mean that's so hard to balance with all the different computer configurations you're going to run into.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we got the better end of that, though. Like, we get better frames, we get more people playing on our servers.
Yeah. I mean, even if we are, let's say we are playing a beta for PS4, we're still reaping the benefits, right? We're still reaping the rewards of Sony continuing to push this product. If there was no PS4, because then they might say, well, maybe it's not making as much money in the States as it should be. Let's focus on other regions. Because I heard in China it's extremely popular. It's about to be released in South Korea. It just got released in Brazil. They have Russian servers, right? They have European servers. They have Australian servers. So in other regions, it's probably doing better or well enough for them to keep supporting the U.S. And not to mention the Player Studio has only been released in the United States as far as I'm aware of. So you're going to have all these Player Studio items being released throughout the world. And these guys, these fortunate bastards, are going to be making so much money hand over fist. It's going to be amazing. And bravo to them. But let's we only have about 15 minutes left. I want to go to a Q&A. Let's go back to weapon balance and competition. Do you think there should be arbitrary rules in competition? Meaning only so many maxes, only so many ESFs. You could only use these types of weapons, only NS weapons. Do you think there should be an arbitrary rule set for competition in Planetside 2? Let's start with Wrel.
No. I don't think so. I think that if anything, I think the game should be more asymmetrical. And yeah, I mean, from a competitive standpoint, it kind of sucks. Actually, you know what? When you look at Tribes Ascend, Hi-Rez did. Okay, so you built a casual game essentially, Tribes Ascend, like, and then you wanted it to be competitive, and then they started balancing things around the competitive side of things, and then the casuals were angry, and I don't want to see that happen in Planetside 2
Right.
because I think that if anything, Planetside 2, like if it absolutely has to not be like super competitive to the point where like if you have to make it competitive but also dumb down the game, I don't want to see that. I would like to see like very very asymmetrical warfare. I don't want any restrictions. For the community clash, might make sense for MLG, might make sense because those are the arbitrary things that you can just like impose and then, hey, if it doesn't work, whatever, you can take it back. But at the same time, that doesn't showcase, what the game is about. It doesn't showcase like it doesn't put all the effort into the spotlight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, and actually, the same thing. I also want to mention, so 64 versus 64 on PlayStation 4. That is going. I hope that it does not influence the actual full broad game. Um,
What do you mean 64 versus 64?
well, so for the PlayStation 4 release, they're not going to have thousands of people on servers, from what I gather. I
Is
think
that is
it's
that been
just.
confirmed?
I think so. Um,
That wouldn't
well,
make any sense then. What are they going to be playing? It's not going to be Planetside.
right. Well, I mean, yeah, you can say that about Battlefield or whatever. Same
I
sort of
don't think
thing.
it's been confirmed, Ralph, for that, but you may be right. I don't know. I'm not really following
Okay,
that.
I'll have to dig in. Again, and maybe somebody in the stream could or knows, or chat knows. But if that's the case, like I don't want to see them balance the game around smaller scale combat because it's very very different. Anytime you add large numbers, uh, it just uh, very very different balancing techniques. So
Okay, that's actually really interesting. I hadn't read that article. I have to do some more research.
yeah, I think I'll look it up.
Yeah, if you can link it, that'd be great, man. Because that doesn't make any sense, to be honest. You're not only numbing down the game, you're watering it down to like 99.9% water. It's not going to be Planetside 2. But let's go on with the question, Pella.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Oh shit, what was the question? I forgot. Sorry, I had lost my train of thought.
Yeah, yeah.
It was something about weapon
Balance.
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 Oh, okay,
Arbitrary
okay. So
rules.
yeah, there you go. Should there be arbitrary rules as far like artificial rule sets for weapon balance or vehicle, whatever?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I believe it should be, definitely. But I think it should be more heavily focused on resources, where you can't pull X amount of tanks, X amount of aircraft. Do you mean every time you spawn into that instance, for instance, you should be limited to what you can have, and then tactically, that's when you get different tactics. So people will start with certain amount of different builds, for instance. I mean, it's like StarCraft or League of Legends, with like gold or the resources is a major factor into what that player's decision
Right.
or that group of players' decision.
Okay, Scourge, I'm actually going to
But-
add another question, so you're going to have a two-parter.
Oh
One,
boy.
okay, arbitrary rule set, yes, no. The second question is, this is kind of something that I've been thinking about, and Wrel mentioned it, which brought it to mind. Should faction weapon balance be asymmetrical, or should it favor the actual faction differences, like the stylistic differences? Like NC have harder hitting guns, VS have no bullet drop, faster reload, TR have increased mag size, things like that. Should we embrace the differences, or make everything basically all the numbers the same? So that's a two-parter.
All right, let's start off with the first one.
Okay, arbitrary rule set, yes, no.
Well, no. I mean, okay, when we're doing like a practice within the outfit, like just we've got like 12 guys or 24 versus 24, whatever, inside the outfit, we oftentimes will make rules like you can only do this, you can't pull that, and that's just because we want to like boil things down and narrow the focus so people are working on like one thing, right?
Right.
But if you're playing in a match and the match requires you to just have like this arbitrary rule, then there's something seriously wrong with your game, in my opinion. If
No,
that can be
I
like
agree.
just developed into the game itself. I mean, the game should be made into account for that kind of thing. It's like it shouldn't be necessary. And I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of that is just that there's so much like little exploits and stuff like that that have gone on for so long that it's like, there's kind of this honor code now in the community. Like I remember back when you could just go crash a hex with a Sunder and some C4, like, and anybody could do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, because of that, you just, you kind of had this weird honor code come up. And I mean, PS1 was the same, where you had stuff like the router exploiting the wall, where you could teleport into people's spawn room and start camping them with a max. And but I don't know.
People did it, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think that the game should be designed in a way that the resource question, because that's like, as Pella said, obviously that needs to be a thing. Is resources need to be more important than they are, because right now it's just everybody stacks up 40 of every
And
item.
you just click, 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 click.
And then just you get bandolier and throw like 6 res grenades, and it's ridiculous. I mean, like you saw it during that scrim we had. Like there was this part where they were attacking the the flag, the room,
Right.
whatever, and just the amount of nades going off was crazy.
It was constant explosions. It made it very difficult to cast, because I couldn't see anything, because I was running an ultra at the time, so it made it pretty hard to cast. But let's go on to the second question, and this is something that I know that speaks to your heart as far as weapon bounds. Should we, like Wrel said, be asymmetrical, meaning all numbers are the same? Which is, I think I understood you right. Is that what you were talking about, Wrel?
No, everything different.
Oh, okay, everything
Like
different.
everything should be different.
Okay.
Like StarCraft different.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Basically, this certain thing bounces you. Like, what do you think about weapon bounds? What I mean, let's. Which way should we be heading as far as weapon bounds goes?
Okay.
No, let's Scourge finish, and then we'll jump back to you, Wrel.
Okay.
I think that's actually something that PS1 did a lot better than PS2, where the empires felt way different, because like you did not have gun that just shoots bullets. It's almost like everybody has the same kind of weapons when you really break it down. Like, the S1 and the I forgot what the TR1 is. It's like everybody has the same kind of default weapons when you really,
Basically, you
break
start
it
off
down.
with NS guns, right? I think it was
Yeah,
something like that.
I mean, yeah, they have like a little bit of flavor, like they reload faster, or
I think it was just a
you know.
cycler for the TR, and then you had the Gauss rifle for the NC.
right.
I think it's
But I mean, the thing I'm pointing out though is that like the 3 primary weapons people used in PS1 was Lasher, Jackhammer, MCG, and those were just so different from each other. Like they weren't even comparable. But I guess the problem though with trying to apply that to PS2 is okay, so when you first start out the game, usually what most players do is they pick like one class. Like they say, I'm going to be a medic, and I'm going to get really good at being a medic, because that's like, I'll just take it one class at a time, and I'll put all my certs into that, and I'll be like the best medic. And then after that, I might branch out to like, maxes and
Right.
heavy assault.
That's actually what I did when I started my new TR. I just went one class.
Right. But the thing about that though is that that's not very fair right now, because if you play TR, you are at a huge advantage. You have better metaguns. That's just like, that's like no even arguing over it. Just their metaguns are just so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you want to be a heavy assault, then you should play Van.
You talking
'cause-
about the TAR?
Yeah, he's talking
yeah,
about the TAR.
Yeah, and I mean the TAR is it's so much better than everyone else's metaguns. But then you've got the Orion that's so much better than everyone's heavy assault guns, right? So it's like everybody's got something that's kind of unfair to that individual. It's like when you take everything together, it's not all that imbalanced, because everyone's got their strengths, their weaknesses.
Yeah, the
but
pluses and
to an
minuses,
individual, to just one guy, it's not very fair.
Okay, let's go to Wrel, since he has something to say about that.
Actually, why don't we bounce it to Pella real quick?
Okay, Pella?
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I believe it's no different. I don't know how to put it, but it's not. You can't kind of distinguish, other than the different bullets they fire, like the TR and NC and the VS fire lasers. To me, I can play pretty much any class with any faction, and every gun feels similar, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's other than perhaps the jackhammer and the MCG, which, I mean, not many people play with those because the other weapons are better. But
well, the Gauss rifle, nothing bounces like the Gauss rifle, man. With no certs in it, you start off as NC with the Gauss rifle, you're hurting for a while.
Yeah.
Until you get all these 500 certs into that gun.
I don't see it as a bad thing though. I like it the way it is. I'm all for just everyone running around with NS weapons, but I don't know.
You don't think they should have started with the GD22S for the NC or something like that, something a little more stable without attachments? Because the Gauss rifle is pretty much maybe one of the highest learning curves in the game as far as infantry weapons goes, in my opinion.
I would have done the EM6 personally.
Or the EM6, there you go.
The default.
Yeah, it's another stop and pop weapon, but it's a lot more stable than the Gauss rifle, especially at all ranges. I think.
Yeah, or you could. Like, what I would advise to any new player now, if you've joined any faction, is just cert straight into a max and just go farm. It's simple, and get your certs going. But most people don't do that though. They join the game, they play infantry, and they see these people with rocket pods getting loads of kills. They try and put like certs into their aircraft or their tanks. They want to play that side of the game. They don't really focus too much on infantry, on the infantry certs, unless they join an outfit and they got the requirements. They tell them to do that. But I don't know. I don't think people kind of really look too much into that when they first start the game.
Right.
That's my point.
I agree. They don't know what they're missing, essentially. They don't know what they're missing as far as certain guns go. Like, they don't know that Tara's maybe the second best gun in the game. They don't know that the Orion's probably the best gun in the game. They just go what feels right to them.
But most people these days, though, Wrel puts a video up. This is this gun. This is the build I use. And then loads of people go and follow that. Do you know what I mean? Like, soon every time Wrel puts a video up, you guarantee, especially on Miller, if he does a VS weapon, every VS is using that weapon with that setup.
Oh, so you're saying that I should do videos on explosives?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of redundant for Miller there, Wrel. All right, go ahead, Wrel.
Way ahead.
Let's hear your thoughts on this.
All right. So I think that there's an inherent problem with free-to-play games when you're trying to make it like a side grade model, and it's kind of they try to keep everything really, really balanced, and like Scourge and Pella said, like, things feel very, very the same. I mean, regardless, you go like to, you can cross over factions and nothing really changes. And I think there should be a lot more asymmetry to the game. Like, I would not be upset if only TR had maxes, and then maybe VS only, or NC have only drop pods or things like that. These are really, really terrible examples. Please don't make comments in the stupid stream. But just like that's sort of like vast differences. But then you develop your own strategies to counter certain things. Now, one thing that breaks balance regardless of how you do it. I mean, you're going to see people complaining in the forums about the Striker. Is Striker extremely powerful? Not really. Anybody can pick up an Annihilator. Anybody can pick... Scourge. What do you think? It's Striker. Sorry, you gave a nod. You gave a nod. And
he's not agreeing, man.
Okay. So, like, you have Strikers, right? Lock-on weapons, easy to use. Like, so when you have low-skilled players who can just pick up the weapon and then go, like, that causes problems in itself. It doesn't mean that the Striker is more powerful, I mean, really, than other things. Like, we have alternatives, we have Annihilators, we have Nemesis, we have whatever, but people don't, like, necessarily, they're not going to flame, about that, because all they see themselves get killed by is Striker. When, like, if you look at Lancer, one of the strongest anti-anything weapons in the game, but it takes more skill to use. So I think that if you vary the strategy like a lot, you create defined strategies for certain factions, and instead of solely focusing around what's easy to use, what feels exactly like everything else, what's easy to just pick up and play, that I think the game will be a lot more interesting. I think that that balance, to a certain degree, needs to be thrown out the window, because we like to complain about what the other people have. We still get people complaining about bullet drop. Oh, VS, their bullets they don't drop
Well,
except on
to be
like
fair,
it doesn't matter.
I haven't
It
heard
doesn't matter
anybody
if
argue
it's-
about that. I don't think it really matters. I mean,
Oh, okay, well,
I haven't heard that argument in a while.
yeah, I hear it
I
all the
hear
time.
it.
And
Really?
yeah,
From
and it
who?
doesn't matter up to 150
Puppies?
meters, which is where your effective range stops anyway. And
I
it's
think
like
you're on about the sniper, the nerf they're gonna implement. Which is that what you mean?
no. I'm just talking about bullet drop
Alright.
in general. And just I mean, just like little things, like people are going to find things to complain about. It's an or eventuality, and I think that you should just basically ignore it. Like understand the feedback. Like is Striker like really strong right now? Yes, it is. Do the lock-on mechanics need to be changed? Yes, they do. Okay, we've adjusted that. Everything's fine. Deal with it, and then just make the game a lot different. Make the game a lot different. I don't want to play a boring like thing where I don't love a specific faction. I want to love
Right.
something. And right now it's just whatever. I mean, I primarily play VS, but who cares?
And anybody else? You guys have anything to add to that, Pella or Scourge?
It's loud.
Yeah.
Go
I
for
mean,
it, man.
on the striker point, that's actually a very true point. That like you do not see good players using strikers very much. I mean, maybe they have like a loadout with it that they go run to a terminal, shoot at a plane, and then go switch back out. But almost always, everyone's got a decimator because that's what you need it for is killing maxes, right?
Right.
Is But that's the thing though, is that it's one of those things that is going to be really tricky to balance because like. I mean, during that scrim against I don't think I saw a single striker, and I mean,
No,
why would they
it's
pull him?
impractical. There's no way. There's no
Yeah,
reason for it.
it's like you've got a fight that's only got 24 people on your team. If the one guy's got a striker, he's not being very useful. I mean, but when you're talking about pub play, like on the public server, striker is devastating, and it's probably like one of the most high impact things in the game right now, just because of the fact that everyone can just casually have one and just walk around and plane flies over, dead. I mean, and it's got this kind of influence, and even when it's not killing people, it's denying
Yeah.
airspace, it's denying
Yeah.
vehicle maneuvering. It's just it's
but
having so much effect even without killing anyone.
but the
Everybody
striker,
has lock-on,
like
so.
any good
Yeah.
pilot though, they can get out like they'll come into the where the battlefield is and they'll get out with their flares and they won't come back to there because they know it's a striker pack there, for instance. But
Right.
you could say that the striker's OP in sense of being in massive numbers against tanks and aircraft, but from the VS point of view, the Lancer, if you had a group of 20 Lancers, that's insta everything if they're coordinated. Do you know what I mean? But that's the same principle with the striker. If people use it coordinatedly, it's devastating, and it's the same with anything in Planetside. If you throw 40 grenades into a
except the
room,
Phoenix. I don't think the Phoenix really stands a chance against the Striker and the Lancer.
no,
Well,
no.
See, here's the
Well,
difference though, is that you
But
don't
anything
need to
in numbers,
coordinate.
that's what I'm saying.
Like you can just have a striker, and just by virtue of having one, you are you're affecting the battlefield, right?
Right, because
Yeah,
now they
I
say
agree, yeah.
there's lock-ons on this hill. Let's avoid the hill. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple
Yeah, but you could
outfits
say the
on
same
Con
thing
right
about I think that
Anything.
the presence is you feel it more. I mean,
now. Right.
and but at the same time, that's because the mentality of the casual player is, oh, our strikers, that's my faction's weapon, right? That's my custom, rocket launcher. I want that. Oh, look what it can do. It can lock onto things. But everybody, like, we all have access to lock-on launchers, but they're not emphasized in a way. Like, we want our things. We want, our Empire-specific whatevers. And so people don't understand the merits of it. They see themselves die a lot due to strikers because people just happen to have them. But, if, like, Lancer's still amazing, Phoenix is still amazing. I'm sorry, killing, like, Sunderers behind cliffs or whatever, like just finding a place to fire from, but people don't see that because they're not constantly getting killed by it. And it's not I don't know, I think that strikers should be changed, or the lock-on mechanics should be changed so that they're more difficult to use, more skill based. I think all the Empire specific
Well,
stuff should.
there was
And
a
that
recent
kind of plays
patch where you have to hover the crosshair over your target, otherwise you lose your lock-on. So they did
yeah,
add a
that's
little
definitely
bit.
a good step.
Yeah, I mean it's a good start.
Yeah, but just that sort of, I think that the Empire specific launchers are a good example of of how the game should be more. And just, Lancers are good in specific situations. If a Sunder is hiding behind a cliff, can't really do anything about it. Not with the Lancer, at least, but you can with the Phoenix. Same thing for TR, who have strikers with the air denial. Like, I think that there should be, and the game is very, very young right now, so it's not like we have developed these strategies to completely cope with every certain situation. And the reason for that, I think, has a lot to do with the pub mentality, which is just like, people are just going to do what's in their little line of sight right now. Like, oh, I'm sitting in a spawn room. As soon as I see somebody's head poke out, I'm just going to shoot it, and that's whatever. And that's the pub mentality. Or everybody's going to get in a tank, and as soon as they reach like a little battle, they're just going to sit there and like fire, but they're not going to move up, because that's how pubs act. And so I think that if you take a faction, you gear it towards a very specific purpose, then that can route the pub mentality.
And that also affects balance too.
Yeah.
I thought Wrel was doing the YMCA then.
I was in my head.
All right, guys. I'm gonna have to cut it short. We're actually gonna take a trip, all 4 of us, into the land of make-believe, and we're gonna throw the dice. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna ask you guys one simple question, and I just want a few-word answer. Scourge, when is Hassan gonna be released? Quick.
If I held my breath, I would suffocate.
Okay, Pella, when is Hassan gonna get released?
January next year.
Actually, that's not a bad guess. Wrel, when is
January.
Hassan gonna get released? Okay, so we're looking at January for Hassan release, according to us on the panel. Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to follow these guys on Twitter, and tune in next week to next week's episode. Say goodbye to everybody. Say hello, goodbye, I love you, things like that.
Bye.
All right, guys,
Bye-bye.
take it easy. Thank you for watching the stream.
Bye.
Bye.